Hi, this is Barb Crowley, and welcome to Metaphysics, A View Through the Veil. Today we have on Marguerite Mary Rigoglioso. Marguerite, now, do you go by, listen to this, I should ask this before, Marguerite Mary or just Marguerite?
Just Marguerite.
Okay, thanks. I got over the last name and had to stop on the first. But I want to talk about Marguerite, who is the world's foremost authority on the history of virgin birth and has taught graduate and undergraduate courses in the United States and United Kingdom. She's the founding director of Seven Sisters Mystery School, the author of several books, including The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception. She is also a authority on the Virgin Mary.
That's right.
And I am so happy to have you here. Thank you for being on my show. I'm fascinated by this.
You're welcome, Barbara. It's really great to be here.
I want to give a little background on me to my audience. I think I've said this before, but in case, I was brought up Catholic, and the Virgin Mary was a big part of our lives growing up. And we were all dedicated to the Virgin Mary. All the females were dedicated to the Virgin Mary, and we all have the name Mary in our name someplace. So I just wanted to say that because I'm more attached, I think, to
Yeah.
most people out there and more fascinated really by the Virgin Mary.
Wow.
Um, and that's what I want to open it with
Yeah.
is what's with the virgin birth?
Okay.
Yeah, we were
We're-
talking right before we got on.
That's
Did she get
right.
knocked up and deny there was a guy?
That's right. We're going right for the heart of it.
Yeah.
So what I've discovered, and this is through my research, not just about the Virgin Mary, but in ancient Greece and the whole ancient Mediterranean world, the ancient Hebrew tradition, and actually worldwide,
Hmm.
come to discover that there are quite a few virgin births that went on, documented in history or recorded in legend or recorded in mythology. And when I did this extensive study of what this was all about in ancient Greece, what I uncovered is that, oh, there were actually sacred orders of women,
Hmm.
priestesses, in other words, who were dedicated to this process. This was something they were trained for, something they grew up in lineages and gave to their next female daughters and kin. And it was something not just reserved for the Virgin Mary, it was a technology that the high holy orders of women were using around the planet. What? To bring forth extra high level individuals to help us out. Okay. That's the basic story of virgin birth as I uncovered it.
I
And
do know that story predated the story of Jesus
that's right.
by thousands of years, but
Yes, it
also
did.
in the native culture, there's a story quite like that,
That there
of a
is.
virgin birth. Yeah.
Yes, there's the peacemaker in the Haudenosaunee or the Iroquois tradition, also the Chalagi or Cherokee tradition. The peacemaker was said to have been divinely born. I would imagine that's not the only divine birth story in the Native American stories. Uh,
Probably, yeah.
in the Hebrew tradition, well before Mother Mary, we have Sarah, the biblical Sarah, wife
Hmm.
of Abraham, mother of Isaac, through a divine conception. There is Elizabeth, the mother of John the
I
Baptist.
know. I remember.
When you
Remember
start,
from my training.
exactly, when you
Yeah.
start adding all these things up and you look at the mother of Plato was said to be divinely born, Pythagoras was said to be divinely born, even Alexander the Great, not to mention other figures around the planet, going
Hmm.
back into the mists of time, you realize that this has been something that's been going on the planet for a very long time, and that Mother Mary comes out of that tradition. So that's the short story of it.
I have to ask why. Why is there a virgin birth at all?
Why is that when a woman is working at this high level as a spiritual adept,
Hmm.
and she knows how to work almost at the quantum physics level. And she doesn't involve herself with the energy of a human earthly man. And she's able to become like the male female within herself, the androgynous, the hermaphrodite. She's able to work with the energies of star beings and star systems. She is bringing forth a very high level individual who's going to start walking the planet.
High
That's,
vibration.
yeah, high vibration.
Yeah.
That's why these women would be doing it. They would say, hey, the earth really needs some help right now. I need to bring in a being who's above the cut, above the fray, who can help us awaken further, who can bring in teachings, who can do healings, that kind of thing.
Right. Now, most of the women, our history, through religion, through history, everywhere, has been washed of woman. There really aren't women there. Having said that, I have to ask, why are women always the supporting characters? Why were they not the Jesus?
Well, here's the
up
thing.
front one,
Thing, Barbara, in my new book, The Secret Life of Mother Mary, which recently just came out, what I uncover is that she wasn't just the supporting woman. She was the main act. And that's what got hidden. Not so much her, but the reality of her is what got hidden. First of all, she was divinely born of her mother, Anne. Second of all, that she planned this advent of Jesus through her connection with divine mother source. Third of all, that she was the teacher of Jesus while he was in utero during his lifetime. And then she helped his resurrection during his crucifixion. And then she was the head of the entire Jesus movement after his resurrection. She was essentially what you might call the first pope.
Wow.
Well before the term pope was existing. This is all of what I unveil in this book. That's why it's so important. And I use historical documentation. I use apocryphal gospels, the ones that were not considered quote unquote official in some quarters. And then in other quarters, these documents were very beloved and honored. And this is the picture of Mother Mary that starts emerging.
Why? I want to go into the Essenes a little bit. I want to go everywhere here, so bear with me. But I'll go there first. The Essenes seem to be the sect that Mary was born into. Do I have that right?
I believe so.
Yeah. And then, but they were a very holy, stand apart group that prepared for all of this. So they prepared her for this. And then, and you actually even write about how from the moment of birth, she was never allowed to walk on her own. Is that right?
What happened was, so her mother, Anne, Hannah at the time, a Hebrew high holy woman, gave virgin birth to Mother Mary. And because Mother Mary then was already a divine avatar by virtue of that, Anne sequestered Mother Mary in her bedroom, created it as a sanctuary, gave Mother Mary a special diet, never had her feet touch the ground again.
That's the part that stunned me.
Yeah, there's a tradition that's related to this in Nepal, the Kumari. It doesn't mean you can't walk the ground. It just means you always have to have your feet covered or you have to be walking on something. It's just a way of honoring this girl. And then she had these special virgins from the temple who knew all about divine birth come in and teach her while Mary was in the sanctuary. And then at 3 years old, talk about dedicating a daughter. Anne dedicated Mary to the temple. And Mary went over with these virgins, and from 3 years old on, learned all the rest of what she needed for how she was going to do divine birth until she gave divine birth to Jesus, either at anywhere between age 12 and 16, the manuscripts say.
Any instructions on how to do this?
Yes. As a matter of fact, in my previous book, The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception, which you mentioned,
Mhm.
I exactly dissect the gospel commonly known to us as the infancy gospel of James, but originally called the birth of Mary, because it's where all this information is about how Mary was conceived, how she was born, how she was raised, and how she conceived Jesus. In that, I knew how to dissect all the words and the phrases and the symbols because of all the research I had done into ancient Greece, this phenomenon in ancient Greece. So when I looked at that manuscript, I was, oh, I know what's happening here.
Yeah.
So I'll just say briefly, and people can look more in this book, and then I have a kind of a brief summary of it in the Secret Life of Mother Mary. She was using breath, mantras, sound, light technology, energy streams, working with interdimensional forces and beings like the angelics. That's why we have Angel Gabriel come into it.
Mhm.
Possibly also using a sacred medicine to open her consciousness. So there were various methods she was weaving together in order to have this divine birth happen within her.
When I got older and got over the Catholic and actually looked at it and saw the part about and Mary was taken up to the heavens, I thought, oh my God, they're extraterrestrials.
That's right.
They're ETs. They were
They're
not,
ETs.
they were taken back to their own planet or back to their spaceship.
And it's been discussed, where were they actually from?
Mm-hmm.
Fact of the matter, there's a lot of Pleiadian connection to these beings, especially, but you could say that they really are in any star system because they are holographic. When really where they went back to, really where Mother Mary went, was she merged with Mother Divine. She merged with the Sophia. In other words, she had achieved that coveted ascension that so many of us are talking about. And there are long descriptions of the death process that she experienced, okay? That was, in a sense, the Catholics are not all wrong when they say, oh, she didn't really die. She was assumed into heaven, or she fell asleep, the dormition or the assumption.
Mm-hmm.
That's getting at the actual process of what happened with her as she left her body. She actually had the full rainbow body death, where she fully left her body, pulled all the energy out of it, such that nothing of the body remained. No bones, no teeth, no hair, nothing. And there was a light that shone in the sky. That's the rainbow body phenomenon that we see described by Buddhist, certain very high level Buddhist adepts and things like that. So she had that kind of passage, which marked her really becoming one with the great goddess.
Can she come back now?
She's
We're in need.
She's here. She's everywhere. She is everywhere.
But to actually come back, and that was when I said, oh, should I go to the Essenes, or we are in such need of a figure. So,
Well, here's the thing, Barbara. This is why I'm offering my next training. It's called the Mary and Magdalene Priestess Training that starts September 10th, 2024. It's enrolling right now. Because what I continue to get from my own intuitive and meditative states, thinking on Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, what I receive is that the second coming of Jesus and the Marys is the awakening of their energy that is already within us. So they are here accessible as personality structures, like they still retain their personality characteristics as Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, even though Mother Mary has merged with Mother Divine, but she's still accessible through prayer, through meditation, through open or altered states of consciousness with medicines and things like that. And they are not about being worshipped. They are about awakening all of those qualities of the Sophia Christos that are within us. And so we are all in a process of understanding that and then knowing how to unlock this within us. And so things like the priestess training that I'm doing and these other kinds of things that people are all about is what it's all about. And she's available, yes, as a mother and a healer and a teacher and a spiritual mentor. And what I receive from her is that she is but a mirror to your soul. She's already showing you, she's just showing you what's already in there. That we are working to awaken now for our own healing and for the betterment of our planet.
Are we going to make it? I look around the world and it is so crazy. And there's so much anger and hate and darkness. And yeah.
I know. Here's the thing. It's a rigorous initiation that we're going through. Those of us who are intrigued by what I'm saying or have already been on this path and are like, yeah, I'm with you. It's not the easiest thing, but initiations really never are they. You have to go through the valley of death. You have to go through the valley of horror. Even Mother Mary, when she was having that ascension, the description that are in the ancient texts and that I describe in this book, she saw the good, the bad, and the ugly. Woo! And that's what we're all about. And the thing is, Barbara, one thing that helps us go through these passages is to understand that in large part, all of this stuff is illusion on some level.
Right.
When we don't take it as fully real, when we turn off the media and look at what they're saying and be like, that's not really reality. And that's not the reality I want to live. We start distancing ourselves from all this programming that's being put upon us. And we can more fully grow into our Maryhood, into our Christhood. All right. And now I don't mean those terms in a dogmatic, programmed way. I mean them in their esoteric, mystical way.
And tell me about the esoteric, mystical way.
We want to look at what are they really all about? Under all the dogma and everything. Love. Awakening to the ecstatic mysteries of the universe. Supreme knowledge, accessing the wisdom of Sophia. Abilities to heal at seemingly supernatural levels. The ability to co-create New Earth Eden, where we're walking around happy, creative, productive. We're learning through joy, not through trouble. Where women access the power of their wombs as a mechanism for protecting and healing children, healing our world, healing other people, et cetera, et cetera. Those are just some of the things that are at the mystical foundation, which really are descriptions of what's at the mystical foundation of every religion. They are united with the essential, quote, spirituality of all of creation.
Why was the goddess, I'll say Mary and the goddess, taken out of almost every religion? She's in the Catholic, but marginalized.
That's right.
And in most other religions, she's not there at all.
Okay, here's my understanding of this. See if it resonates, and listeners, see if it resonates. The earth plane has been besieged by negative energies. It has been tampered with down to our DNA, taken over in some sectors, hijacked, programmed, inserted with misery for the benefit of these beings who feed off that kind of thing. It's just a feeding program. And so they're out and about, they're in and within, they're working us, and they get into and infiltrate anything that starts out good, and they turn it into its opposite. And they are out and about with all of our major institutions and things like that.
Mhm.
Some of us see them, know them, some of us sense it, some of us are being used by them and don't even know it. And this is what we're trying to awaken to. It's part of the awakening of humanity. It's part of the understanding that there is another ecosystem beyond the 3D, that some of which is friendly, like the Marys and Jesus and all that, some of which is not. And we want liberation. Liberation from this is exactly why the Holy Family came 2000 or so years ago, because they knew all about these archons. They're called, in the Gnostic traditions, archons. They're given all different names. And they're like, look, we want you to awaken to this Sophia light within you. We want you to claim your powers. We're just showing you powers that are possible, but this is within you. We are enjoining you to do some of these practices so you can develop this within yourself and throw off these shackles. That part of the disappearing of the feminine is part of the hijacking, programming, and clampdown of these negative beings that infiltrate themselves into us. And they've particularly taken over the patriarchal yang or masculine energies, but it doesn't mean that men are bad. It just means that some of them got hijacked, and all of a sudden the ancient stories start getting rewritten. The women get written out of it. We disappear the goddess altogether and say there's only one God and he's a guy and you're going to go to hell if this and that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's part of a whole thing that's been going on, that this Holy Family has been trying to, again, empower us around.
This is a question I ask everybody. How did we lose? If let's say, when we go back and we look at the Essenes and virgin birth and the healing and all of that, the power that was there, how did we lose to the negative energies?
All right. Losing implies that there's a finish line.
Implies too that there was a war, that there was a battle, and somebody's going to take over somebody else. And I
Well,
think it really did happen.
let's say it's ongoing. It's ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Ongoing. There's no finish line. And it's, the field is wide open for each of us to become the inner warriors and the inner healers of this situation. And the simplest way to do it, I'll tell you, Barbara, and you may know this, is just to focus on your own healing. Because as you're focusing on your own healing, you're releasing the grips of these energies. It's very personal, it's very human, and it's very emotional. That is step number one.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes part and parcel with the spiritual awakening that anyone is seeking.
But it
So
seems like a battle back, as if
Yeah.
the predominant is this. How did you lose the predominant?
How did we all fall into this pit that we seem
Exactly. I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well,
Yeah.
here's what I understand. It's the fallen angels.
Yeah.
It literally goes back to, like, some of those biblical tropes and things are not all wrong, okay? There was something that went on in the creation where these beings that developed out of the oneness, these angelics, made a choice. They decided to not be of the Sophianic love and light. They decided to try something else because they could. And that created a whole cascade
Mm-hmm.
through time and dimensions that comes to us in a very real way in our personal lives, when we have parents who abuse us, abandon us, are not there, don't know how to be parent. You know what I mean? This intergenerational sexual abuse, everything that's going on the planet that is painful is a result of this cascading down of the choices of the angelics and the creation then of these forces that are not, they're not light oriented, they're not positive. And that's what's besieging us on planet Earth that was once a Lemurian kind of paradise.
Before I have to ask you this part, because you've mentioned it a few times, tell me about Sophia and Sophian energy. I'm backing up a little bit here.
Sophia, yes, Sophia is one way of looking at the great Mother Divine.
Mm-hmm.
She is named conveniently in the Christian and the Hebrew tradition, right? But in other cultures, she would have another name. So the name doesn't really matter. It's just, I use Sophia because it means so much to me, in that the Greek, it was the very meaning of wisdom, feminine wisdom. And that didn't just mean intellectual information. It meant knowledge of light and dark, all encapsulated in one great being. And my understanding, as I've been learning about this over the years, is that she is the great light, and the great light that is within each of us. So she is divine creator, mother source that is within and accessible within us down to our DNA. And the quantum physicists would tell us about that. So isn't that curious? It's consciousness, it's love.
You talk about Mary using physics, or the Essenes that are using physics. I feel like we've just gotten dumber and dumber with every birth.
Well, here's the thing. These beings, these negative ones, have pulled the wool over, have tried to dumb us down, have done various things to our body, made changes in our body, whereas once we were able to have open telepathy, open consciousness, like a walking LSD trip. But they've covered over our chakras, calcified our third eye. There's been a grand disempowerment, but there's always been an awake stream, and there's now a huge wave of awakening that's happening on the planet. Huger than ever, because anybody who's been around for a few decades can remember back how it was different then. You know, you and I grew up with Kellogg's cornflakes, and the father going to work with the briefcase with the tie. That was the apex of high living. And you know, now we're like, holy cow, we're going into the stratosphere. We're connecting with the Pleiades. We're wanting to know the secrets of the universe. We're doing advanced healing techniques on each other. That's what's happening here.
And there is the Catholic, again, I have to use the Catholic because that's what they know. I know. And that has really fallen apart, where it was so black and white. And so you're good and bad, and heaven and hell. And it just really doesn't work in today's world, as so many of these religions are not holding, except for the extreme. The extreme still has a lot of members, but the rest of the religions have lost quite a bit of power, because they are of the old, I think, of the older world, older thinking.
Yeah, because they've all been infiltrated with this negativity. And that's where you start seeing pedophilia and goodness knows what else is.
There's terrible stuff that goes on in it. Catholic Church, my God, when you look at what has gone on in there and been sanctioned,
I know.
It's just horrific.
That shows you it's an example of the takeover. Okay. The infiltration of serious quarters of society. And it's not just there. It's in lots of different religions. It's in lots of different societal structures.
I can't come to the conclusion it's in all religions. That religion itself, you have to be careful of.
Yeah, once you get into a structured, dogmatic organization with a priesthood, because usually
and a hierarchy.
And a hierarchy, you know there's infiltration. And when they start controlling people instead of liberating people and suppressing people, you know there's infiltration.
How is it that, I know you have your school, the Seven Mysteries, right?
Seven Sisters
Mystery School. But there really hasn't been much of a rise, in my opinion, or strong enough, of the feminine. It's still trying to get off the ground, kind of thing.
It is. It's a revolution that's not being televised, so to speak. It's happening all over. For decades, women have been emerging in higher level spiritual ways all over the planet. And so this movement is happening. It's just more I wouldn't say underground so much, but it's not in the public mainstream. And in some senses, that is really good.
Hmm. It doesn't seem organized. It
And you know
seems
what?
a lot of individual, but not so much organized.
And you know what? That's good. It
Yeah,
needs
because
to,
it's not hierarchical or
no,
power
there's
based.
not
Yeah,
one
yeah.
organization. God us forbid.
Mm.
It needs to be individual, personal, creative.
Right.
It needs to keep its creativity. And as long as it's not trying to get into some kind of monolith that could be taken over, it stays alive and it can feed into all of our lives. It can feed us.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. It's a grassroots movement,
Tell me about the womb chakra.
right? This was a revelation to me that I started learning about back prior to 2017, that there is an actual holy womb chakra that is related to, but separate from the second chakra in the abdomen, and that it is most prominent in women, but men have a fragrance of it. And this is the teaching, these are the teachings that have come through Sri Kaleshwar, the late Hindu saint who crossed out of his body in 2012, but was here for 36 years.
Mhm.
And collected all of these ancient manuscripts about this material from palm leaves that were written by sages going back thousands of years. And he says, including Mother Mary Magdalene and Jesus, who used these processes. So he talks about the womb chakra as being a critical power spot, power source of especially the woman, the possession of which indicates that is why women, he says, are more advanced actually than men on the spiritual path, and why men have to connect in with women in order to get some of their power. There are mantra practices and yantra or sacred drawing practices that have to do with the clearing and cleansing of this womb from all of these hijackings and miasms of the world, and then the empowerment of this womb, both for conceiving higher vibrational children and also harnessing the womb powers for, as I was saying earlier, doing remote and in-person healings on people, protecting children. There are all sorts of advanced, magical, if you will, things that can be accomplished with a high vibrational womb. And so there's a process and a practice of going through this. I'm certified to teach it. I have an online course on demand about this. The Divine Mother Center in Laytonville, California is a guardian of these teachings and a purveyor of these teachings. There's another ashram in Penakonda, India, where Sri Kaleshwar's body is actually. There's a whole series of understandings and processes associated with the recognition of the Holy Womb that is of great benefit and helps explain to us why and how Mother Mary would have her powers. She didn't just all of a sudden magically appear with these powers. She had to cultivate them like anyone else. She was a sacred woman in training.
Mm-hmm.
A sit, S-I-T, a sacred, swit, sacred woman in training, all right? And right, so she had to go through her ropes. And Sri Kaleshwar says she actually had to go through those ropes in many lifetimes before she perfected herself and had her full ascension. And these are guideposts. These are roadmaps for all of us. Oh, we can do these holy womb chakra practices. This is something I can literally get my hands on. I just have to get my lotus seed mala, follow these instructions, do it, and let the magic happen.
What is 108? What is that number? Why is that number so important? I'm sorry that I'm jumping around like this.
It's okay. It's
Yeah.
the sacred number that's incorporated into the mala. The mala is a series of beads that precursors the rosary and represents, it's a way of going through each mantra, reciting it 108 times. There is a magical geometry to that number that I don't fully understand, but I trust. And by going through it 108 times, it sends a certain vibration into your life and out into the universe. If you want, you can go into the exploration of this sacred number in Hindu traditions, and there's 108 temples of this, that, and the other thing. All right. Suffice it to say, it's a sacred number because it has powers. When something is repeated 108 times, it does something in the universe.
It becomes a
creates-
vibration of some
It's a
kind.
wave. Yeah. It's a vibration that creates a wave that has positive effects.
It's weird that we don't, the 108, because the rosary bead is 108.
Because it's patterned after that, but in a slightly distorted way.
Now, in the pagan community, do we have that kind of thing like 108 and the earth religion, let's say, pagan community? Is that there? Because I don't think it is it?
I
That's a
haven't seen that.
goddess.
No, I think you have to
worship.
go. I think you have to go to the traditions that have a mantra practice to find the mala of 108 seeds or beads or something of that nature.
Okay, now I'm going to jump to a whole new place. Tell me about Mary's early life, or even Elizabeth. They were the same time period, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
What
mean,
was their early life like? Did they go into temples? Did they heal? Were they kept hidden?
Elizabeth would have been an elder to Mary.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The Muslim tradition implies that Elizabeth was Mother Mary's sister, so that Elizabeth was Mother Mary's aunt.
Yeah.
Now, what we see evidence of in that gospel I talked about, the infancy gospel of James or the birth of Mary, they were both part of the same ritual of 8 women that conducted the rite to conceive the divine children in a temple context. Mother Mary, from that ritual, conceived Jesus. And we could interpret from the events that went on that Elizabeth was part of that ritual, and she conceived John the Baptist more or less at the same time as Mother Mary conceived Jesus.
Yeah.
Again,
and she was past the age of having children, wasn't she?
That is what we learned from her, as with Anne. Traditionally, what we would think of, but there's a whole description about that these women may not have been menstruating to begin with.
Right.
They may have been purified so that there was no menarche, menstruation, menopause. They were just available on into elder years for divine conception and even other kinds of conception, right? So this is like helping us to see things.
What does that mean, other kinds of conception?
For example, virgin birth wasn't the only high level of conception, the high process that there was. There was tantric conception, where a high holy woman and a high holy priest man would come together in a sexual rite. Literally, sperm and egg would be exchanged, and a high vibrational child would come out of that. So on the one end of the spectrum, you have the virgin birth, no male involved. On the other end of the spectrum, you have high tantra, the king and queen involved. All right. And I talk a lot about all different other subtleties within that spectrum. But this is what like the king and queen would have been doing together to fertilize the land, meaning they would get a high holy divine child who would then procreate. Fertilizing, providing DNA to the planet. And this is what a lot of people believe happened with Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Jesus, the divine.
Mary Magdalene, yeah. God, I'm glad you brought her up before we got off.
Yeah, Jesus, the divinely born avatar. It is being shown and understood that he co-created with Mary Magdalene a child or a line of children that then seeded into humanity.
And so who was Mary Magdalene?
Could be with us. Mary Magdalene, what we're discovering, was another high holy woman of nobility who connected in with this Mother Mary and Jesus enterprise and became one of the high priestess leaders of it. And
she came down through the ages as a prostitute who, a fallen woman.
Right. And that there was no such thing until one of the popes said that about her.
Oh,
He
okay.
equated her with the fallen woman in the Bible. All
And
right.
just to marginalize her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is how these forces work through people.
Mm-hmm.
They put ideas into their heads, they get them to,
Demonize, yeah.
yeah, they get them into distorted thinking processes
Mm-hmm.
through their own unhealed wounds. That's how we get hooked in by these beings. Okay. That's why the personal healing is so important. And that's why the Marys and Jesus are available to us in their essential mystical form to help us with that personal healing so that we are unhookable. You
Um,
see?
we talked before we talked before I came on. There are two places I want to go, and maybe we can do this quick. One is I hear that Mary had other children
Right.
other than Jesus. And I don't know because Catholic Church, oh no, it was one and done.
Right.
And who were they? Were they highly enlightened children as well that just didn't make it to the front page of the newspaper?
That's right. Here's what I see when I look at this material. What I see is that these other children that are called Jesus' brothers and sisters
Mm-hmm.
were actually Joseph's children by his first wife.
Mm-hmm.
That's the evidence that I trace. So
Okay.
that Mother Mary was not a physical mother to other children besides Jesus. This is what I have discerned.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, she became a stepmother of these children. And I talk about that in The Secret Life of Mother Mary. And people can go to that book for more details on that because it really is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
How they received her, how they treated her, how she worked with them, and what some of them ended up doing.
What did they do?
There were some leadership roles there
Mm-hmm.
in this early enterprise. Okay. And
Um,
so,
Go ahead. Sorry.
and so it's just becomes much more interesting, especially in a day when we have a lot of step siblings and
Oh,
stepchildren.
yeah. Yeah. Integrated
Okay,
families. Yeah.
how did Mother Mary do it? She was carrying in all the principles that she knew
Mm-hmm.
about high level living to the situation. Keep harmony.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, we talked a little bit about it before we came on. And this was when I first started to meditate. I went to a place that I called Mary's Garden.
Yeah.
And it was when you entered this, Mary was there, but also there were trees and plants but everything was connected and alive.
Yeah.
And you were well aware of the life as I would. I was aware of a tree the way I was aware of another person. It was that much of life, of everything. And then
Yeah.
I would go in and I would go past the vegetation and I would go to Mary. And then, so I'm on my own doing this meditation or just playing with it. And then later, when I was trained, they talked about Mary's Garden, which is when I found out that I wasn't making it up, that a lot of people knew about Mary's Garden. And you
That's
talk about Mary's Garden too, and I want you to
right.
come in with it. Yeah.
But I didn't know it was a thing.
Oh,
I
you didn't?
just,
Yeah. I
no,
didn't until other people told me. Yeah.
I just put two and two together and intuited it and wrote chapter 7 in my book, which is all about
Hmm.
Mother Mary's connection with the subtle angelics of nature, the
Yeah.
fairy realm, the Eden realm. So what you're describing, and so I connect Mother Mary in with that and help people understand that Mary is a being who is connected with that realm,
Hmm.
that fairy realm, that Eden realm, a realm that still exists, a realm that we want to bring our earth into the vibration of again, because we once had it on the planet
Yeah. Yeah.
for the hijacking.
Hmm.
So she is the guardian of that.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that we can go to her for. She's a teacher about these realms. What do we do? And how do we make our own garden in Eden? How do we sense the subtle beings that are the intelligences of the trees, the flowers, the plants. She was named, her name or her life was associated, her life events were associated with every single flower that was known in the medieval world of Europe.
Really?
Yeah. And I
Wow.
talk about that in The Secret Life of Mother Mary. So yeah, she's an ecological support system for us.
She was happiest there. That's where you had to go to meet Mary,
Well, you
into
see,
her,
and it's so
into
cool.
her garden.
Because the other day I went into this highfalutin cathedral in a certain city, and I felt cold, and I was like, Mother Mary, what's going on? And she's, I don't dwell in cathedrals.
No, she doesn't like that.
She said, I dwell in the natural world. And I was like, oh, yeah.
And the connection, and it was like life all around her. She needed life all around her.
Because she is that.
Yeah.
She is the nature.
She is. And even the stones were alive. Everything was alive.
And when you are able to open to that consciousness, imagine if we could open to that consciousness walking around all the time. That's
without drugs.
Not anything.
Yeah.
We want to be returning to that by restoring our natural abilities to be open to the deeper dimensions. Okay.
Yeah.
Through the meditations and all these practices.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you can hear the thunder. We're talking about Mary, and the lights are flickering and the thunder's going on here. Yeah. But now I have asked you a lot of questions, and I've gone everywhere, which I do apologize, but I wanted to know all of this. But what would you like to tell me that I don't know enough to ask?
Oh,
we have a few more minutes, and I'd like to, And then at the end, we're going to tell everybody where they can get hold of you and and your book, and how to go into the goddess work.
Yeah. Let me just connect in with what would be useful for people listening, which is the main message that I've been getting whenever I tune into the Marys, which is that, again, we are, you are us. We are just wanting to help you awaken that reality within you so that you can walk the planet in a better way and really get humanity going into a positive upswing. That's what they seem to be all about, at least how they're working with me. And there are many ways to cultivate that knowing within you. And again, it starts with the personal healing. It continues with what are you fascinated about regarding mystical spirituality, the secrets of the universe, and so forth. And it also, of course, involves cultivating your lovingness for yourself and for other people. That's the foundation and the elixir for everything.
And Gaia, our earth, is just so kicking up now and fighting back and done.
She needs the love. She needs the care. Take care of Mary's garden. It's your garden.
Can we turn it back? Have we gone too far or
I
lost
think we can turn it back. Anything we lost that is lost can be found. Anything we love can be saved, as Alice Walker famously said in one of her books titles. It's very important for us to believe that. We just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and staying in action. And the biggest action you can do is the healing of yourself, especially if you're feeling like, I can't take this on. I'm exhausted. I'm this and that. I'm great. Take care of yourself. You're taking care of Mary's garden by taking care of yourself, by healing those inner child wounds, those traumas, horrible things that happen to you. Find your healing modalities so that you can soothe and soften and open your heart. Gather your powers within you, right? That's what this is about.
And if they need help, they can come to you, right? Where can they get hold of you?
Yeah, right. So I'm just providing a few understandings to platforms to help people get excited and jump off into creating their own platforms. So check out Seven Sisters Mystery School. The seven is spelled out, SEVEN, sevensistersmysteryschool.com, to see what we're doing. In particular, right now, as of this recording, we are registering now through August 28th, the Mary and Magdalene Priestess training to help you start tasting of all of this. If it's new to you, it'll be a wonderful soft dive. If this is familiar to you, it will help you to go deeper, broader, and wider. Check it out. And then if people want to purchase the book, The Secret Life of Mother Mary, or the precursor to it, The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception, go to wherever books are sold. Ask your bookstore, your local bookstore, to order it, because that's a great way of keeping these beautiful organizations alive. Or if not, get it online. You can go to Amazon. You can go directly to the Inner Traditions Publishing House and find it there. Okay.
Yeah, many ways to start the journey.
Right.
But if they need to have their hands held a little bit more, they can come to you.
Yeah, they absolutely can. Because
Yeah.
I'm all about giving people the fishing rod, right?
Yeah.
They hear, and here's some empowerment for you to go fish.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks so much for being on. As you can tell, I had so many questions. I love
Great.
this.
I
Thank
love
you.
your curiosity, and thank you for inviting me. Really appreciate it, Barbara.
I do enjoy it. Thank you.
We'll see.
Bye-bye. Hi, this is Barb. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Marguerite and all of the interviews I've been doing on metaphysics, A View Through the Veil. I would really appreciate it if you'd go and rate and review these podcasts and radio shows, so I'll know what you like best and what to continue with. Thanks so much for supporting me and for giving me your feedback. I also want to introduce you to another podcast of some fun 30-something-year-olds and what they're doing. So let's just take a peek. Here they are.
Hi, my name is Christina, and I'm one of the hosts of the Bubbles and Babbles podcast. Join me and my best friend Jen every week as we talk about literally everything and anything on our minds. Whether that's Bravo, our insane travels, or just things on the internet that we might have thoughts about. There's laughter, tears, and sometimes guests. So grab some bubbles and come babble with us every Tuesday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. See you there.